Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the UnLearnT podcast. I'm your host, Ruth Abigail, aka RA.
What up, peeps? It's your girl, Jaquita.
And this is the podcast that is helping you gain the courage to change your mind so that you can experience more freedom. And we are in our series, Unlearning Personality. And look, we've gotten a lot of good feedback from you all. We've got some really good, I think, thoughts and conversations and comments. So y'all keep liking and commenting and sharing and subscribing and following to the UnLearnT podcast. We're really, really appreciative of that. If you watch us
Appreciate
on
y'all.
YouTube, make sure to like the video. It helps get the video out so that other people, new people can catch it. And so, yeah, man, like this is, we're in this thing with y'all. We really appreciate y'all. And so we want you to continue to let us know what you're thinking about what we're doing, what we're talking about.
For sure. And it's always, it helps us to learn more about what's connecting with people and like where our like high points in the conversation are, like the points that are really like, resonating with the community. We're part of the community too, so we know what's resonating with us.
Correct.
But we want to know what's resonating with you guys.
Correct. All right, so Quita,
What's up?
you doing all right?
I'm doing pretty good, Ruth Abigail.
That's
I'm
good.
doing pretty good. Ready to dig deeper, okay? Ready to dig and learn and grow.
Learn and grow. Dig, learn, and grow.
Dig, learn, and grow.
And so, okay, we've been in this Unlearning Personality series, and we've been using personality assessments to have the conversation around, wait, what just happened? Quita just lost it. I don't know what happened.
I'm so sorry. Continue. Joy, if you could just edit that
wait, no, I don't know what happened. We absolutely cannot edit it out.
No, it's okay. Move on.
Excellent. Very good. Okay, good. So, so yes, we're doing personality and we're doing assessments, and we have done several so far. So if you haven't listened to any, go back and listen to some. But today we're this is, I think, our newest one, like newest kid on the block as far as the assessment is concerned.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of people may not have heard about it. It is brand new. Like, it's only like
I would like to say I consider myself to be an expert in personality assessments, and I had not heard of this one. So y'all are getting this one fresh off the press.
Yeah,
fresh off the press.
This is new. I was introduced to it through a podcast that I listened to called the Art of Leadership podcast with Carrie Newhoff. Excellent podcast. And an author and speaker, his name is Patrick Lencioni, has introduced this to the world. It is called the Working Genius assessment. And so what it assesses is six working geniuses that everybody has. This is we talked a lot about a lot of the assessments, and most assessments are really looking at how you as an individual works, looking into just the way that you are, your strengths, your personality, the way that you communicate, the way that you handle conflict, and all these things. And so this is really designed to help people understand how they work in the context of a team, and particularly how they work in the context of a team that is working towards something, right? That is doing something specific. So the core focus is really helping people understand how they fit in a team setting. And so you can really see this clearly when you're looking at like you're working on a project, right, together, and you're trying to accomplish something. And you can see these working geniuses in that. So this is not just for work, right? I mean, this could be this could be useful for planning a vacation, right? My group of friends, of which Quita is a part, we try to do some version of a trip every year.
And we try being the operative word.
This is tough. And even in this moment, I'm thinking, like, I wonder if we all take this and then apply it. I wonder if we'll actually get the trip done.
Yo, let's do it.
Like, for real. Like I
Yeah.
really think that could work
I
because
I think that could make for an amazing time. Like, yeah.
we've been trying to do a group. We haven't done a full group trip in like what, a long number of
Child,
years.
since before people had kids. So,
Yeah. Oh shoot, that's for at
yeah.
least 6 years. Yeah. So we got to figure this out. So like, it can be used for that. It can be used for family stuff. It can be used. It can obviously be used for work. It can be used for something that you want to, maybe you're planning a conference with your church, or maybe you have an idea that you want to see put out into the world. This podcast is a great example. Like all, like the three of us, who work on this thing, we all have working geniuses in order to produce this podcast, right? And so we
Hmm.
all find ourselves in our space, and we bring it to the table, and then there is a something at the end that we could see that's tangible, that we all work towards. So that's really what this particular assessment helps you to do. How do you work in the context of a team that's trying to get something done? Um, so there are 6 different geniuses that this assessment um, tries to lay out. All right, so I'm going to go through all of them, and then for each one, when you take it, you'll basically get a dominant and a secondary, and then we'll go from there, and then we'll share what ours are. So you have um the first one, wonder. Okay, wonder. The description of that is people with the genius of wonder are naturally curious, asking big questions. They see potential spots, gaps, and envision what can be improved. They're the people that like to think of the big idea, right? Then you have invention, right? You have people that love creating solutions. These are your problem solvers, who really are going to take that idea and say, okay, this is how we're going to get there. This is the thing that needs to happen in order to do what it is you're thinking about. All right. And then you have discernment. The people who have a strong sense of intuition and judgment, they evaluate ideas and decisions quickly. They see what will and won't work. Then you have galvanizing. These are the people that get the team excited about doing the thing. Okay. They are rallying people, they generate energy, and they inspire action. And then you have enablement. These are the people that want to actually make the thing happen. These are your ground workers. These are your give me the scissors, let me cut up the letters. These are the, I'm going to do this,
You
right?
need
These are
those
the
people.
You need those
Yeah.
people, right? They are ready to support the vision. They want to put their hands to something. And then you have the tenacity. These are the people that make sure it gets done. These are the people that aren't going to let you stop in the middle of the project. They're going to remind you of the deadline. They're going to say, "Hey, y'all, we have this is due on November 12th. It is now November 8th. How are we going to get this done?" Right? They are committed to finishing the project. All right. So those are your 6. So Quita, which ones are you?
All right, friends. Let me tell you which one I ain't. I am not that tenacity person. I'm not
What would you
reminding
say
nobody
about
of
me?
no deadline. Usually, when I had a team, I no longer have a team, which is a very different place to be. When I had a team, they were the ones reminding me. They was like, "Hey, we got this thing." I'm like, "Oh yeah, we got the thing." But I am the discerner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So naturally gifted to use intuition and instincts to like. And it was interesting because I was like, no, I'm an ideator. Like I'm really good at, creating ideas. No, I'm really good at assessing ideas. I'm
Mm-hmm.
really good at seeing what's on the table and figuring out what to do. Like my ideas are sparked by what's already there. Like I don't just sit in a void and be like, you know what? I want to create a podcast. That would be Ruth Abigail. Okay. What I'm good at doing is saying,
Facts.
here's how we're gonna make that thing work. And here's some things we can do once we get in there. So discernment and then galvanizing. I'm gonna get you energized about it. I'm
Okay.
gonna inspire and motivate the people. All right. Everybody's gonna leave pumped. You know what they used to so when you work in higher ed, right? Every higher ed place I worked at and nonprofit place I worked at, the United Way campaign is like a huge deal. Like where United Way is going to all of the partner agencies and like getting them to raise money from their staff.
Mm-hmm.
When Girl Scouts figured out that I could be the one to get the money out of people's pockets, oh, they were like, Jaquita, go do the thing. And I was like, I want to show you guys a video. A woman on the street crashed over by the waves, and
Oh.
by the end of it, tears. Okay. By the end of me doing my plea for people to bring that money out of their pockets, they were galvanized. Okay. So yeah, those are definitely my two. And then so like you have like your working genius and then your working competency. I can and am capable of doing the innovation piece or the invention piece and the enablement. And then wonder, absolutely not. That curiosity piece, that's all Ruth Abigail. You want somebody who's curious? Call Ruth. Do not call me. I'm not
for
curious.
for sure. And so once again, we the only one that we don't have between us, the only one that is like a solid working uh like one that's just very frustrating. So like she's a working genius, working competencies, and then things that just frustrate you. That tenacity part is not neither one of us have that at all.
I ain't got
But
time for that.
but the other
Because we're
guy,
millennials. I told y'all last week about the millennial managers.
but
Okay. I'm
but
not
let's
stressed.
but there are it is necessary, like all these different geniuses are essential, right? That's like if you didn't have the tenacious people, we just be floating out here with unfinished products and unfinished ideas and just moving on to the next thing, and that's not helping anybody. And so we got to have that but it doesn't represent like, so we have to have that person. And quite frankly, if y'all have been introduced to producer Joy, I'm pretty sure producer Joy is that
You
very
know what?
strong
You
tenacity,
know what?
which is very necessary.
Absolutely. Oh,
Absolutely.
wait a minute. The light bulbs are firing off. Absolutely. Let me tell y'all something. Joy gets so frustrated when we come on here and we're like, okay, we're just going to freestyle. And Joy's like,
You will not.
you trifling
We
so
will
and
talk
so.
through this, and
No, here's
and
the plan.
and
Here's
here's the
what you're
plan.
actually
And
going to do.
here's how long we listen. And she lets us know how long we have and how long we've been into the podcast, and she makes sure that we're aware that so that we can at some point this thing has to be done. Like we
What
have to
y'all don't know
finish,
is that Joy
right?
also gives us a grade after every
She does.
after every taping. She's like, we rarely get A's.
B minus.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
got
we be like, yeah, me and Ruth Abigail will leave. We'll be like, that was the one. That was the one. We changed the game with that. And Joy be like,
she does.
we
And
love you, Joy.
we love Joy, and we love it because it's so necessary. It all works together. Now it is not always easy, right? Because we're very different, and our when and we'll get into this later in the conversation. But like you have to allow, you have to allow. Joy is loving this, by the way. She's absolutely loving the fact that we are talking about her and she can't respond. And so
Mm-hmm.
you have to allow everybody's genius to work, right? Because it's what makes the thing that you're trying to put out the best, right? And
For sure.
so I am wonder in my two top two geniuses is wonder and invention. I am the starter. I am the one who comes up with the idea. I'm the one who says, okay, like this podcast is a great example. I want to start a podcast, and this is what the podcast is going to be about. And like I had notes and notes of ideas and different ways to think about it. And every day I'm going back and I'm writing things down and I'm rephrasing stuff. And I'm just thinking about it. Right. I'm then listening to other podcasts and getting ideas from them, and all those things. Right. And then the invention part comes with what does this how this podcast is going to look. What are the nuances of this versus that? Like what is it that I
Mm.
really want to talk about? What is it that we really want to kind of try to change in the world, right? And how are we going to use the podcast to do that? The other, what are the I've mentioned several times to Joyce, like we wanted, all these different other ideas, like let's do there's certain things with the podcast that I want to do. I'm not gonna give them away today, but there's certain things with the podcast that I would like to do that I've thrown out there that I know I'm it's gonna need other geniuses to really move it along, because my best and at my best I'm coming up with the idea, I'm communicating it, and I'm a lot of times framing it in a way that makes sense. My
Mm-hmm.
working competencies are the discernment and galvanizing. I can do that. That is something I'm able to do. And I have the frustrating pieces for me are the enablement. I am not the person to cut the paper. Um, don't ask me to do that. Like I am
Ah.
not that. I am. The other day we were writing thank you notes for our donors, right, for the luncheon that we had. And I had my job, like Art was like, okay, we got to get these thank you notes out. I want the kids to write some of the thank you notes. And I'd used some templates we used in the past and all this stuff. And I had to kind of like everybody did their part. By the time we got to the center to do the thank you notes, um, I started writing some a note, and I was like, I have about 1.5 minutes before I get distracted and think about something else and have somebody else come finish these notes. I'm not going to be able to do this for long. Like, so the kid, I was like, hey, because I was going to write some of them and then the kids were going to write some. I said, no, the kids going to write them all because I, I'm not going to be able to do it. And I know it's not that I don't want to do it. It's that my brain just doesn't stay there long enough to get it done, and I'm gonna get a
Mm-hmm.
phone call, or I'm gonna remember I have to go send an email, and I have to, I'm gonna think about something that's gonna distract me, and those things aren't gonna get finished. So you just have to know where you belong. I don't
Yeah.
belong cutting paper or writing notes. That's not where you want me. You don't want me there.
You really stuck on that cutting paper.
I
Like
don't know
I
why.
feel like
I
we
don't
need
know.
to
I don't know.
branch out what that
Scissors.
one
When
looks
I
like.
think about
We'd
enablement,
have to get like scissors and construction
I just
paper.
no,
Like
that's what I think about. You know what I'm saying? Like when it's like excellent, it's it literally they're excellent supporters. They're gonna like the tasks that need to get done to do the thing. They're the people to do that, right? And sometimes I don't know. I look at that. I'm like, man, am I a bad person? Because that's not. I'm not a good supporter. Like I was like, yo, like
mm.
if somebody asked me to just go and hey, will you go and stuff these bags with like and I'm like, I mean, yeah. And I want to be so enthused. Like, of course, I will stuff 6 bags and then something else will happen and the bags will not get stuffed. And I sometimes I feel bad about that. Like, but again, it's just not, it's not my genius. You know, it's
But
not
you
what I
know
do
what?
well.
The thought that immediately comes up for me is that little girls were told that like you have to be helpful
Man,
and be like and be the person that you have to be like the homemaker, like the person who's always doing the things and always serving everybody else. And like whereas sometimes little boys are like pushed to be like, hey, you get to go think and innovate and go
man.
build and be in charge, like. And so I think a part of it is just like the way we're groomed. And
Mm,
so like the guilt is coming from like that societal expectation slash norm that is like making you feel like, but I don't think like a man is like, man, I feel bad I'm not helping them cut these little pieces of
no, they
paper.
for sure are not.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
they're
no.
like, that's not my
Mm-mm.
job.
Right, right.
Not doing that.
That's correct. No, I agree. And that's a good point. I don't think I considered that.
Yeah, you're socialized to believe that you should be helpful.
Right.
Like when it's for some people like that is really natural for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think in my world, like I am willing to do because I come from the eventing world, I am willing to do whatever it takes to make sure the event goes well. Also, I really care about aesthetics. So we not finna look just any kind of way. So if I
Right.
gotta put the decorations up, I'm putting the decorations up. If I got to organize the chips on the table instead of somebody just throwing them on the table, I'm gonna
Sure.
sit there and I'm gonna be organizing the chips.
Right.
So like for me, it's feeding a greater purpose, but doing it for the sake of doing it, that's why it's a competency and not a genius.
Yeah.
Like
That's a good point.
I'm
That's a
not
great point.
excited about it.
Yeah.
I want it to look a certain way, so I'm willing to do the work.
So, one thing that I have had to unlearn about these geniuses is that my genius isn't genius in every situation.
Hmm.
So, In other words, every situation doesn't call for wonderment and invention. There's a time and a place for that. And sometimes there's a time and a place for we just need to get this done. I tell people I'm not the person you call in a crisis. I am the person you call after the crisis because I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you think through how do I settle. How do I resettle in my new reality? Um, I'm not the
Mm.
person who's going to be able to think quickly and like, okay, we need to go do this, and this because
Mm.
I'm way too. I've got too many things going on in my head. Now, again, it's not that I can't do it, but there are better people to call. Like
Mm-hmm.
if your house is on fire, there are firefighters and then there are constructors. I'm a constructor. I'm a builder. I'm not the firefighter, right? Like, and I have to realize that. And
Mm.
I think it's important to know that my building brain is no good when your house is on fire.
That's good. That's good because I think that that's how we get messed up a lot of times into thinking that our gifts don't have real place and positionality because you showed up at the fire and it's taking you a minute to move. Where
That's
the
right.
people who are naturally firefighters run straight into the fire, they got the equipment. They know what to do with their
They know what to
equipment.
do.
And you sitting there with a hammer and and like some nails and you're like, tell me when to go. And it's like tomorrow, please.
Tomorrow, come back
you
tomorrow.
know.
That's good.
But I think even as leaders, when we sometimes we get so caught up in fighting the fires that we don't give place to the other people on our team that serve for pieces of the solution. Like the solution is not just stop the fire,
Yeah.
right? There's somebody has to be able to give CPR. Somebody
Right.
has to be able to, to call other resources and be able to connect people. Somebody has to be able to rebuild the house. Somebody has to be able to call insurance. But I think that that's such a really really good example of how genius works, right? Like I think when you and I were talking about this earlier, we were talking about like kind of like when you think about a genius, it is a really profoundly and exceptionally gifted
Mm.
person who is like has like a real niche, right? Like when we think about like Mozart, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
was a genius
Yeah.
on the piano, like a genius in music. When we think about Serena Williams,
Yep.
a genius on the tennis court, right? If we take Serena and put her at a piano, we're not going to get
Right.
a
That's good.
Mozart level
That's
performance.
good.
Even if she took her time and learned her scales and learned how to play even just a little bit, she's not a genius at it,
That's good.
right? And so we get it's a full spectrum of how people are able to contribute in their genius, but we need to be mindful that it's important for us to realize that me being a genius means that I'm going to be really good in one area, but I need other people around me to catch my blind spots,
That's correct.
right? Like I'm not like knowing I'm not the firefighter. I am the person that can build the house means that I need to be really mindful that I got firefighters on my team
That's right.
and I don't need to be standing in their way when
That's
it's
it.
time for them to run into the fire
That's it.
and to get the fire going. I don't
Absolutely.
need to be in their way because I'm like, "Hey guys, we need to be building." Ma'am, the building's on fire.
That's correct. And like,
And we stand
yes.
in each other's way a lot because we don't
Mm,
support each other in our genius.
mm.
We try to teach our team, hey guys, this is how you build a house. Hey guys, this is how you make a blueprint. Hey guys, this is how. But when the fire comes and the people who are natural firefighters comes up to you and say, hey, we need to move quickly and do this and do that. And then they just start moving, we get upset.
That's good.
But that's not your genius. And
Yes.
you need them. The
Yes.
house about to burn down.
Yes. That's
The
it.
whole house about to burn down, but you don't want to listen. Don't
Woo.
stand don't stand in the way of your firefighters.
And that is, you know, we I don't know if it's too early to get into this, but this leadership thing, right? What you
We're
just
there.
described, we're there now. So like the we were talking about this the other day and how we're leaders People who are in leadership positions who have that kind of decision making authority and whatever whatever the context is are taught often. Let me not say taught, are encouraged, right? I think sometimes unintentionally, just you just kind of you're encouraged to be genius at all things. It's almost as if you need to be the everything. You need to have all six of
Mm-hmm.
these, and not you need to have all six, and you need to be able to direct people in all six. When
Mm-hmm.
truly the best leaders, to your point, get out of the way to let other people's geniuses work. Those are the
But
best
see,
leaders.
that does not come without having a level of respect
Mm,
and acknowledgement for the different gifts of the people on your team.
that's right.
And I will tell you the honest truth. In previous work experiences, I have felt one of the most difficult things to overcome was knowing that the genius are my level of discernment, especially discernment. People love
Mm,
galvanizing. Oh,
mm-hmm.
Jaquita, you're so energetic. Oh, Jaquita, you know, you really just
Yeah.
pump up the crowd. Oh, you really just make events and things so fun and exciting. But when it came to me discerning and saying, hey, here are the flaws, here are the things that can cause us to crumble. My mind is working overtime going into the future saying, hey, this we're this is a threat. This is a threat. This is an opportunity. This is a threat. This is an opportunity. Like I'm constantly in that flow.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly communicating to people, hey, I see threats and opportunities all around. We have an opportunity to take this thing 10 times farther than where it is right now. But here are the things that are going to threaten our progress, right? That's natural for me to
Yeah.
operate in that realm. When I'm constantly giving feedback and I'm constantly pointing to the things that need to change, not only am I pointing to the things, I'm saying, here's what we need to do. Here's the move. I'm telling you, we going left when we need to cut straight and then take a
Yep.
right,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
I'm telling you what we need to do, and I'm sure of that thing.
Yeah.
And you don't listen,
Mm,
I got to go.
yeah.
You get
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Because you don't acknowledge and or respect what I have to offer. And a lot of times we don't realize when you see people start leaving your organization or leaving from under your leadership and
Mm,
they are unwilling to follow. A lot of times we blame that on personality differences. We blame that on their ability to adjust to the environment. Right? Like, oh, they just really
yeah.
couldn't get with it. They didn't see the vision. Da 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 da
Yeah.
da. Or maybe you didn't see them.
Come on. Oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Maybe you didn't recognize and relate to what was inside of them,
That's right.
and maybe you stood in their way of them either developing in or being able to express their genius on your team.
That's good, man.
And
Wow.
so I think as middle adults who are now, a lot of us are supervising somebody, or we are in some type of leadership role, or we have some level of influence, because that's what being a middle adult is. When you turn 35, you start looking, you be like, dang, people need me, huh? Let me get up and see what I can do.
Correct.
let
Correct.
me get up and let me get up and do something.
Correct.
Right? You have got to start. You have got, if you are going in thinking, I just need to teach everybody how to be a grown up. I
Mm.
need to teach everybody how to be a professional. I need to teach everybody how to, how to finish things and how to create things. And if that's your mindset, you are going to miss out on the important element of being able to support and foster and nurture the genius of the people who follow you.
So when I came onto Angel Street, I'd always, I'm a co-founder, so I've been a part for the full life of it. But when I came on the full time staff as the executive director, and the outgoing executive director, Jill, who's the
Hey,
founding.
Jill.
What's up, Jill? Shout out to Jill Dyson, amazing person. And she was still on the team, and she like we had a kind of a 3-person executive situation, which was a beautiful partnership. And so I remember at the time we had 2 locations, and I came in. We had a program director. We had 2 locations, and I came in, and my job, we wanted to just build out what we were doing. And so I came in January of 2020, and we had started this process, and I was kind of we had started the building process. I was in my bag, and I was ready. And then March hits, right, really around February. And Jill, I remember us talking about this, COVID, and this, this coronavirus, this disease, whatever.
Mm,
And at the time it was mostly in the nursing homes, and it had kind of spiked
mm-hmm.
in China, but it wasn't, it's like me being me. And she jokes a lot of times, because she says her husband and me are very similar. We're very much like, hey, it ain't gonna be that big of a deal. Like, let's not trip too much. One of Jill's is discernment. Okay. And she said, I'm I think we need to pay attention to this. I think we're gonna need to get
Mm-hmm.
ready. I said, Jill, I don't think it's gonna be a big deal. I remember very vividly an email that she sent, and it was with an article, and she said, we need to get ready. Like, it was past a, you know, like, I think we ought to pay attention. It was very much, we need to get ready. And I remember being like, okay. Now, in that moment, I could have chosen to continue to ignore her genius. And I'm telling you right now, if I had, we wouldn't be here. Angel Street just wouldn't be around, because Jill, it switched from me being in my bag to Jill being in hers, because Jill is a
Girl,
firefighter.
come
You hear
on
me?
here.
She is
Come
going to
on.
do it. And so I had to have enough humility to say, I gotta step back, and I need to just basically, whatever Jill tells me to do, I'm gonna have to do it, right? um
Mm,
and I said this, she was right. And
she was dead
we
on.
got ahead of the game in a lot of ways, because Jill said we need to start preparing right now. And it became crisis mode, right? We honestly, we raised a lot of money. She got us all the loans we needed. She got us all the stuff, all the PPP, anything you could
That's
get,
what
she
I'm
got.
talking about. Yes.
And when I tell, we did a whole campaign. We couldn't do our fundraising event that year. She galvanized. She's a galvanizer. I think she's the same as yours.
I was gonna say, me and
But
Jill are very similar.
you're very similar. But she galvanized people. We did this whole campaign. And when I tell you, and I took a real back seat. I didn't know what to do. Um, but one thing that I did, right? So she worked there, and she got there, and my job was to sit and think, what does Angel Street look like now? So I got to be in my building bag, but it wasn't necessarily, and I got to be in my wonder bag, but there was no action on it. She was doing the action, and I was doing the wondering. So that when the action stopped, we knew what we needed to do. Here's where I think we need to go. I did a lot of thinking. I did a lot of planning. I did a lot of looking at stuff, and I had time to do it. Right. This is, I think, and as you were talking, this is a great example, even to me in this moment, of how geniuses work together when you allow the
Mm-hmm.
geniuses to work. But at
When
any point,
oof.
either one of us could have prevented the other's genius from working. And Angel Street as an organization, I it would not have survived. Like,
Let me tell you
it wouldn't have
something.
survived.
No, that part. I'm reminded of when COVID hit for me, and I was working in student life, student activities, and they were like, "Yeah, we about to shut the college down and nobody's coming back for the rest of the
Mm,
semester." And immediately I'm like, "Okay, if the college stops producing money and they need to cut positions, I have to move this from being a in person,
mm,
fun thing. I got to move this into being something that's sustainable online. And online programming was never really a big
mm,
thing. And I told them, I remember I was sitting at a table. It was the last in person meeting we had. We were all sitting at a table, at a big table. It was like 6 of us with 3 chairs in between everybody. And I remember they was like, "Well, what's campus like?" They were like going around, and each person was saying what their office was gonna do. And I was just sitting there, and I was just like, they were like, "Jaquita, what you gonna do with campus life?" I said, "We're gonna do quarantine TV." I said, we are going to do
Wow.
a TV show every Friday featuring student programming. We're going to do, and I just started listening, and it
Wow.
like literally, I didn't have any time, but even in this conversation, I don't think before taking this assessment I would have ever like deemed
Mm.
myself to be a firefighter, but I work so well under pressure.
Yeah.
Like I a lot sometimes I wait for the pressure to come so I can be like, let's go. Go
Yeah.
time. All right.
Yeah.
I got you. All right. Don't even worry about it. It's gonna be amazing. But it was in that moment I discerned really quickly. I was like, there's a threat here that I need to turn into an opportunity.
That's good. Yep.
And I think that's what the genius of discernment really is. It really is something here could go really wrong. Here's how we make it go really right.
Yeah.
Like
That's
it
really
does
good.
not have to. And the other thing I had to learn was that I remember I was working with someone to help them pull off a conference.
Hmm.
And as they were like throwing out the ideas, I was like, yeah, but what about this? And this could happen and that could happen. And, I was just saying all this stuff. And they were like, Jaquita, you really are negative, and you don't really speak life and or speak life into things, or you make things seem like they're not going to work out.
Mm.
And I realized, looking back now, I realized I was only using one side of my gift
Mm.
because I was
Uh,
seeing the threats,
yep.
but because I wasn't really, I was just insecure about proposing the ideas and the opportunities because I didn't think they would be accepted.
That's really
And
good.
so I just offered threats because I was like, well, think about this. I don't want this to go wrong. So I'm gonna give you the threat and let you figure out the opportunity. When we make people feel really comfortable in like what they're who they are and in what they bring to the table,
Yeah.
you will get the totality of their gift versus what they're just willing to give you, and they're not willing to give you all of it because they're afraid.
That's really,
They're
really
afraid of the
good.
judgment. They're afraid of not being accepted. They're afraid that you're gonna call what they're saying, inadequate or insufficient. Like people are afraid to show their full genius. And the way that we as leaders support people fully growing in who they are is we act like you have to be able to discern. Sorry, everybody's not a discerner, but you got to be able to discern what's in
No,
your
yeah.
people. You
That's
get what I'm
right.
saying? You got to be able, like, if you take this assessment, I just really encourage. I listen. I've taken a lot of assessments in my day. I love assessments. This one was very new for me. I really enjoyed it. So as a person that takes a lot of assessments and that knows the good from the bad, that can weed them out, this is a good one because you need to be able to notice who in your team is doing what,
Yes.
right? And you need to notice, like, you could have taken Jill being like, hey, we ain't got time for, we need to be preparing for COVID. You could have taken that as that's really gonna stop progress. Like we're building right now.
That's it.
Like,
Yeah.
we're on our way to something.
Yeah.
And you could have ignored her warning that it's a like if we don't move, it's gonna crumble.
Mm.
And when
That's
we don't step
man.
back, but see that when you trust each other though, like, and that, do you know what that did for Jill to know that like you followed her?
That's
And
right.
when leaders follow leaders,
Hey man, it's a different ball game. And there's a couple of other things that I think are important in that, that I'm thinking I was, there could have been, again, that trust is important, humility is important. Um and you what I could have very easily thought was she doesn't respect my leadership,
mm,
right? Especially coming into that position and her leaving that position, right? That could have been a very tense thing.
mm-hmm,
Um, and so I could have had that mindset, but it's not about in that moment. And this is we make leadership about authority. in that moment, it's not about authority, it's about gift. The authority is not the point. It's about the gift. So one of the
Mm,
things that I think about leadership that we don't we that it's a different perspective on leadership that I think most people like in the traditional sense we don't see it. In the traditional sense, we see leadership as a hierarchical ladder, right? Um,
mm-hmm.
and that has been the way it's been modeled for most of us, right? Is you have the top people who make the decisions and the people underneath them follow those particular decisions. Um, I don't think that's the best leadership model. I think that a better leadership model is not a ladder or is not any it is not a
Top
vertical
down.
situation, right? It is more of a circular situation.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has the opportunity to lead when it's time for their genius to show up. And so if you are a leader that has authority, the best way you can use your authority is to open the door for people to use their genius when it's time. And so to
Mm-hmm.
your point, you know, allow people, like, create the environment for your genius to work when it's time. And as a leader that has some level of decision making authority, what you cannot do is feel threatened because your genius isn't on display. And I think a lot of times people in decision making, you feel threatened because it's not my genius at play. Well, if your genius, if the builder is called, or you if you insist that you show up to the fire with a hammer, that house is going to burn down. And
Oh,
now you as the leader are now looked at crazy.
whew,
Why didn't you just call the firefighters? Why'd you feel like you
child.
need to have to come and do it?
Girl, this is helping me. This is helping me. Let me tell you, I feel like in previous work situations, like I've noted that I think that the genius of a couple of people that I worked with was definitely that tenacity. It was,
Mm-hmm.
hey guys, we got deadlines and very task oriented and very, we got to do the things. And I was in the background saying, hey, like we're not, you paying attention to the task and your people are not motivated. They don't
Yeah.
believe in the work anymore. They don't believe in you. They don't believe in us.
Mm.
Like, we need to spend time really pouring into our team, or it's about to crumble.
Yep.
And I'm like, and then like when it started being like the doors closing for me to give input,
Yeah.
right? And it was like instead of hearing Jaquita say, "Hey, things are really getting out of control," it's, we're just not going to invite Jaquita to the conversation.
Mm.
And I was like, noted.
Yeah.
If I, you know what I'm saying? And so like we have to create the image that came up for me when you were saying like, allowing people to shine when it's their time, like, is a training camp. Like,
Mm.
you have got to make sure, like, when you, even like when you think about any like armed services, like they all go to basic training,
Yeah. Yeah.
but after basic training they have specialties, and they
Yeah.
are in training for those specialties. And when it's their time to operate in their specialty, they ready
Absolutely.
to go, right?
Absolutely.
And you have to see leadership as, what am I doing to foster the development of people who are not me?
Come on. That's it.
What am I doing to foster the development of people whose geniuses may not look like mine, may not always agree with mine? Your genius may not always agree with mine. Even in like this podcast, like we have different geniuses that don't
100%.
always agree. It's not gonna always agree, but we have to be subservient to each other to say, hey, Ruth has the lead right now,
Mm-hmm.
because that's who needs to be in front,
Right.
right? Like if we were to do like some type of campaign where we were like out in the street and we were like going up to people and like, hey, we want to create, okay, then Jaquita take lead,
That's
because
right.
like we need a galvanizer here,
Right. Right.
right? If we need to like create like a schedule of when we're gonna get everything done and how we're gonna do it and da 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 da, Joy,
Yep.
we need you up,
Yep.
right? If we need to figure out what's the vision, what's the direction, what can we do next, who all can we, Ruth, You up
Yep.
next. But you gotta be willing
Yep.
to give in when it's time. But you also gotta be ready to go when it's your
When it's
time.
your time.
You get what
That's
I'm
right.
saying? One of the things that I had to unlearn was that when it comes to you operating in your genius, there is a difference between timidity and humility.
That's good.
And somebody at one point in our lives told us that to be humble meant to be mild.
Mm.
It meant
Mm-hmm.
to hold back, to not show people everything you could do,
Yep.
and to not
Wow.
operate at full capacity, but to come in and kind of halfway do something. No, baby, show up in all your, it's your moment. Show up and show out.
That's
We
right.
need you right here.
That's
If
it.
I, as a galvanizer, showed up and because I didn't want to seem like, I'm trying to be timid because I don't want to seem like the person that needs to be center of attention or the person that
Mm.
needs to hog the mic or the person that da 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 da, that is necessary for me to operate in my genius.
That's it.
The microphone is necessary for me. It is not that I need to be center of attention. It is not that I believe that I need to be the one on the stage and that only I can do it. It is because it is a necessary tool in order for me to do what it is that I
What you
work.
need.
It's necessary for me to work in my genius.
That's good. That's
It
good.
doesn't it doesn't mean that I'm, but we have made it seem like people who get up and
Mm.
speak or who get up and are talking in a crowd of people think that they somebody. Baby, first of all, it ain't that easy. It ain't as easy as it
Right.
looks. And that's
Facts.
for all of these. You know what I'm saying? Like Ruth Abigail's an executive director. It's not as easy as it looks.
Amen.
You get
Not
what
at
I'm
all.
saying?
Right.
Like, but we cannot show up timidly.
Yes.
You show up timidly, let me tell you something. Them people will run over
You're
you.
gonna get run over. You're gonna
You're
get
going to
run
get
over.
run over.
Yes.
Run
Yeah.
over in a place that you were supposed to be leading and
That's right.
shining.
Or
When it's your time,
you'll be disregarded or dismissed. And the thing is, you're needed. Like you're needed. And so, and if you don't know that, then nobody else, if you're in a situation, and this is where I think it's so important, and I love the word genius because it assumes that everyone is at the top of their game at something. And so it's like you're all on a team, everybody's at the top. Like they're not, nobody's, so
mm-hmm.
you're all on this at the same level, right?
Yeah.
And so you're playing with people who you can match with. If we're on a team and I'm the best shot on the team, then when I get the ball, your job is to shoot the ball.
Shoot the
Like
ball.
don't sit here being like, I want to seem like a ball hog. I want to seem like I'm scoring all the points, man. I don't. And then
Over here passing it.
oh,
I'm not a
shoot the
shooter.
ball, shoot the ball, right? If
I'm a
you
defender.
are, yeah, exactly. If you're a defender, and you like, look, don't sit here and just act, don't be calling for the ball all the time. Get ready to go get the rebound, or get ready to get back to the other side of the court, so that when the team rebounds, you're prepared to stop them. Like, stop trying to be who it is you think other people need or want you to be who you need to be who
Come
you
on
know you
here.
are, because you're needed. And this is again why this assessment is so good, because we don't operate in silos. Let me say it like this: we do operate in silos. But if you want something done well, you can't operate in a silo. The best things, the things that we all love and admire, the things that we look at and you see is like, man, that is amazing. That was not done by one person. It was not done
Mm-hmm.
by
Mm-hmm.
with one in one way. That there were a lot of things that were contributing to that thing being produced.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody had a genius at work at some point in producing
Mm-hmm.
what it is that you admire. And so if you want to be a part of that, then you got to show up. I love that you got to show up. Like, I don't, one of the things that I think, and even this podcast, but even just like anytime I'm in a room and how to I've learned I don't do this as much as anymore, but I I struggle. I've learned that I've struggled with people thinking that I needed to earn my, like I'm the youngest in a lot of rooms I'm in these days.
Mhm.
And me speaking with any level of authority in something feels, especially when it's counter to what's being said, or when it's a different idea, or when it's something that I feel like is missing from a conversation that other people around the table aren't probably going to say. Um, I'm like, I sometimes second guess myself. It's like I'm new to the table, I'm young, and I'm young, but also I look younger than I actually am. And so, it's like I don't know that I have the right to speak. And I struggle with that sometimes because
Mm.
a lot of times what I say, because of the genius, this wonder and invention genius working together, it's going to bring an idea to the table that's going to shift the conversation a lot of times. And what we were going to do, and I call it like throwing a wrench. Like, can I throw a wrench in this? Because now when I say what I'm about to say, it might shift how we move. And and it might take us to on a different course. It might have us think about a different thing. It might make the thing bigger than it is that we are talking about. And I always get nervous about that. But if I don't do that, then I have to live with the fact that because I was quiet and because I didn't speak up and because I didn't show up, the thing that we all wanted it to be, it won't be that at its fullest. And that's on
Mhm.
me. And I have to walk away from the table leaving that, and also understand, if you don't take your moment, you probably won't get it back. Like, it's not coming back, right? So when it's time for your genius to come up, take it. If you don't, if you miss it, you've missed it. Like,
Listen, ain't nothing worse than seeing somebody else do what you was supposed to do. Ain't nothing worse than it.
man, look.
Ain't not I you know where I learned that at? Church.
Mm,
Cause you would be hearing the Lord tell you to go do something, and you'd be like, I'm just gonna fall back. And then you see somebody else do exactly what the Lord told you to do. It only takes a few times for you to be like, all right, let me let
yeah,
me get myself up.
let me
That's
do
what happened
this.
to Saul.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like you get nervous and you don't, but you let me tell you, I promise y'all, it there you are not served by not getting out and shining.
that's right.
Even if you get out there and you go do your thing and it's not fully received, or you stumble, you need that. That's what, like, it's I'm imagining like a cow when it's first born. The legs might be a little shaky, but
Yeah,
you gotta stand up on
yeah,
those legs
yeah.
in order for them to be strengthened enough to carry the weight of who you are.
That's correct.
You gonna have to walk a little bit. I'm getting country. I gotta really rein that in. You gone, what you gonna do? But seriously, like, you have to give yourself opportunity. And that's why I'm saying I'm imagining a training camp.
Yeah.
Because as a leader, you need to be developing low profile opportunities for your people to be practicing their gifts, especially if you are a middle adult who is leading and developing young leaders. You need to be creating low risk opportunities for them. If you know somebody is a galvanizer, you're not going to put them, you know what I'm saying? Like, Ruth Abigail's not going to put them at the celebrity luncheon
Right.
fundraiser and being like, all right, run it, you know?
Right.
But what opportunities can you give them that are low
That's
profile?
good. That's
Hey,
good.
you're gonna introduce the team at the beginning of our next show. We want you to, do a little excerpt at the beginning of it. Like, here's a little speech. I want you, develop a speech that, but give them some low profile
Yes.
opportunities. If you know that you have a person who's an ideation person, like, and they are the, what is it, the inventor?
Inventor or
Yeah,
one
invention,
inventor. Yeah.
right? If you know they have invention, invite them into the rooms where
That's
y'all are
right.
coming up with
That's
ideas.
it. Yes,
Let
absolutely.
them sit at the table and learn, and
Yes.
and then encourage their input.
That's good.
Say, hey, you, inventor Eric, what do you think?
That's right.
You
That's
know what I'm
right.
saying? Like, you need to be cultivating what you see in other people. And then when their moment comes, literally get out of their way.
Get out of their way.
Especially if it's not your gift.
Man.
And if you are mentoring people who have the same gifts as you should not make assumptions that their gift is going to show up the ways that yours does.
Well,
You
that's
shouldn't make
good.
assumptions.
Nope.
I think that something that has, you know, I think, you know, I'm a person that mentors a lot of different people. Not as much anymore, but I mentor. I mentor.
Yes.
It's something I'm really passionate about. Um, I have, I have one mentee, she my baby. She my little, I used to call her my mini me.
Yeah.
And I used to be like, whatever ways you guys expect me to show up, she's gonna show up.
Mm.
What I have learned in the last year is that she's so much better at me than
Mm.
things in certain areas. Like we have similar areas of giftedness, but she got me on some stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, and I'm sitting back watching, like, well, dang, I thought I was a discerner, but this girl is good. And
Mm.
she's confident and she's sure in
Yeah.
who she is and what she's showing up as. It would be so easy for me to go in and say, you know what, you really need to show up like this because
Yeah.
this is how our gift works.
Wow.
This is how our things work. And
Mm.
so I need you. Mm-mm,
No. Mm-mm.
mm-mm. There's areas where I can offer counsel. There's areas I can offer guidance, but I should not be quenching the fire that's inside of her.
That is correct. That is correct. And I love that you said that because even when you have the same genius, the other things about you inform how that shows up, right?
Mm-hmm.
The knowledge base you have, the experiences you have, the confidence that you have, right? I mean, it's all that is also gonna play a role in how that genius actually shows itself, and it won't be the same, right? It's not gonna be the same as other people and as people that have that same genius. I think that's so key. I think the other one of the other things I've unlearned about this and about thinking about this is I, I'll phrase it like this: like a genius that if there is something that frustrates you um about another person, uh unlearning that the most important thing about that is that it frustrates you. Instead, turn it around and ask yourself, what a this is this frustrating because it's frustrating, or is this frustrating because it's their genius rubbing up against mine? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about tenacity. I think because both of us, I think that is a genius that rubs against, but it is a genius. It is not just a
Mm-hmm.
frustrating trait or personality trait that doesn't mash with mine. Like, it's a genius, right? I do because of my genius in wonderment and invention. These things are not deadline oriented. Like, you have to have room to create and change and think and ponder and like it. I won't. I don't. There's some things it's like I can't tell you exactly when I'm gonna have this to you. But then there are things that require a deadline. It's like we can't keep looking over this. This is not the time to bring up a new idea. This has to be finished, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, no, but but last night I was just thinking, and I was like, shoot, I know this is due tomorrow, but this would be really cool. And it's like, hey, the time for really cool was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah,
There's no
yeah.
more really cool. And if I'm not careful, I'll feel offended by that. I'll
Mm-hmm.
feel like, squashed down by that. And if I have a level of decision making authority in the situation, I can usurp that moment and say, no, we're going to do it this way, push the deadline back, which then, to your point, squashes and squelches the genius and of the person that has tenacity. That would be a bad idea. And so you know what I'm saying? And so it's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
in that moment, you have to like, my genius works when it works. And then other people's doesn't. Like, we have we're about to put out a annual report, which is like a big annual newsletter we do for the organization. We're going to send it out this week. It's getting finalized in the next couple of days. Believe me when I say I've thought about 10 million things I'd want to do differently, communicate differently. We have, well, maybe we do this and let's do all this stuff, right? At the end of the day, this thing has to get printed on Tuesday. Guess what? With Abigail's new ideas, cut them. I don't. You don't get a new idea right now.
Yeah.
We're editing. We're taking things away. We're not adding anything else. Right? It's not the
Mm-hmm.
time, and I have to tell myself that, and let the other people who have a better eye for that stuff speak into it. Right? So when you find yourself rubbing up against when you find yourself frustrated by another person's personality trait, it might be their genius at work, and the best thing to do is to let their genius work. Take your back seat, let it work, because it's not about it's not about you. And I think this is an assessment that makes it so clear. Every moment ain't about you and who you are and your personality and your gifts. It has to work together. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the thing that you're looking for, the thing that's coming, the thing that is in your head that you want to see come alive won't happen with just what you're able to do. It
Mm-hmm.
has to be you have to have that moment, those moments of contribution from other people. It becomes a shared experience, and we don't like sharing because we like the credit, and we like the authority, and we like feeling like we're on top, and we want the thing on our resume. We want to be able to say I did that. That does it.
Child.
It doesn't work that way. I mean, you could
Mm-hmm.
do that, but whatever it is you do is going to be incomplete and uninspiring, because it, it was all about you, and people can
Yeah.
smell that, right? You can smell that from a mile away.
And I think, see, I just feel the need to bring a point of clarity for the saints. Right? A lot of times when we dismiss this idea of it being all about us because we see ourselves as, oh no, but I was helping and I
Yeah.
was, and I was serving, and
Yeah.
I was just making sure everybody was okay, and you and you, when what you really needed to do, you were the one at the fire, sitting out handing out brownies,
Correct.
saying, but I'm helping,
Yeah.
and I'm making sure people feel good, and it's really, I'm the one who gave the firefighters a bottle of water
Yeah.
because they were thirsty, and it's like,
Not
it
the time.
wasn't your moment. It
Yes.
wasn't your moment. It is so much more. And I think, and this is something I had to learn, to build leadership around the idea of making other people great versus
Mhm.
me walking in and
Mhm.
being like, "Hello, everyone. Jaquita's here. Yes, thank you, thank you. Hold your applause, everyone. Hold your applause." Right? In my last role, my team was out here killing it. You hear what I'm saying? They was out here killing it, and I was just in the background. You want to know what's so funny? Because I work in a different position at the same college,
Mhm.
right? Every time my new boss introduces me, she's like, and I'm sure you guys already know her because she was working at Clemson before, but here's Jaquita. And the people are looking at me like,
Who are you?
who are you? Because I was a background leader. I was not sitting there like, oh, I gotta get in the front of that. And oh, they're doing that. I need to make sure I'm there. I need to make sure I'm seen. I was like, oh, you really good at that.
Mm.
Do your thing. I got your back. you know,
Yep.
like, I was really that person. The only time people saw me was when it was, oh, somebody who said what? Add me to the email.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, okay, wait a minute. That's too big for you. And I'm going to take that off your plate because you be focused on your genius and I'm going to handle this.
Yep.
Right. And so, like, a lot of people, I'm realizing now that I am in a point where I'm having to build relationships, even though I've been at Clemson almost 3 years.
Mhm.
I'm just now having to build relationships because it wasn't where I was. I was
Yep.
supporting my team.
Yep.
I was letting them shine.
Yep.
But I think when it comes to this idea of working together in a team where you recognize, you know, in the my previous job, we had like three directors who were all like older millennials. They were between like we were between like 36 and 42, you know. And then we had like nine directors who were all 25.
Hmm.
Some
Hmm.
26, maybe one 27. You know, and so they used to call us the adults. They were like, y'all are the adults and we are, you know, your kids apparently.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
so like if all of the adults were out of the office, they'd be like, hey, there's no adults here today. But what I think they came to realize was we all have our specialty. And so it is not the adults and the children, it is everybody working together to really push this thing forward.
Yes.
And so I think that regardless of how old you are in a workspace, you have to believe in your genius.
Absolutely.
You have to believe in your genius. If you coming in and you 25 and you're just now learning who you are, whatever you learn about yourself, you got to believe in it and go full force.
Go full force. You go full force. You have to come. You got to come correct. You got to come
Mhm.
correct. All right. So we probably should have done this a little earlier, but just so you know, like the Patrick Lencioni and his team called the Table Group, they've kind of done a little research, and this is kind of the breakdown as of right now. Again, this is new, so more people take this, these probably will shift. But for the percentages of people that are that are these particular things. So if you're a wonder, it's about 10% of wonder being 10% of people are kind of in that wonder space. 10% of people are in galvanizing space, and the rest, invention, discernment, enablement, and tenacity, it's about 20% each, right?
Hmm.
So that, I think that's interesting. 10% of, that's probably that's kind of what the breakdown is. And so I agree. I think this assessment can be really, really helpful for us to understand how we work together as a team, how to allow people to shine when they shine, and how do you step up when it's time for you to step up. And watching what that what it does, right? Like, you really have to have this the mindset of, this isn't about me, it's about the thing, it's about the cause, it's about the thing that we're
Mhm.
building, it's about the thing that we're trying to accomplish. And so if you have that mindset going in, then the beauty comes when you see what the result is. You're like, oh man, that's amazing. I would have never
Yeah.
thought that it would have been able to get there. And that tension of the genius is what's going to make those make that thing great. But
Yeah.
it's the don't run away from the tension. Don't
Yeah.
run away from the friction. Work through it. Right. It's okay. Again, the things you're gonna need to do that, you're gonna need trust, you're gonna need humility. Otherwise, things can fall apart.
Real
Um,
quick.
real quick, right? So what does it look like to build trust? What does it look like for you to come humble to the space, not timid, but humble? Know when it's your
Mhm.
turn. If it's not your turn, step back. If it is your turn, step up. And so just understanding that, and I think the things that we again want to see out in the world will be so much better. The way that we approach leadership will be so much better if we can learn to respect and accept the geniuses of other people, and let them do their thing in the moments it's time to do their thing.
For
um
sure.
so all right, what you
Can
think,
I
Quita? Come on,
I want to add one more thing.
please.
There was one more thing I unlearned, and I just feel like it's really important to note.
Yes.
I am a person that would have described myself in my 20s as being very passion driven. And when
Mm.
I felt like I wasn't passionate about something, I felt like I wasn't supposed to be in that space anymore, right? And this assessment talks about the difference between your working geniuses and your working competencies. And your genius, working in your genius, actually gives you energy and energizes you. And working in your competencies requires a level of sacrifice. It's, I can do it, but it's going to require a sacrifice. It's going to require me to give energy rather than necessarily receiving it. In order to continue growing, you are going to have to learn to balance the
Mm,
idea that some days you're going to be receiving energy from what you do,
mm,
and some days you're going to be giving it. But you cannot expect one or the other to be the primary focus of your work.
that's
And
good.
so, as you guys are continuing to grow in your fields and grow in what you're doing, and sometimes we experience burnout because and a lot of times you're experiencing burnout because you are no longer receiving energy or satisfaction or life from what you're doing. You need to take a step back and reevaluate, am I operating in my genius, or am I operating in a competency, and how do I balance this so that I can be re-energized in the work that I'm doing?
That's good. I'm glad you said that. Um, that's good. That's good, man. All right. So I think we're done. Are we done?
We're done.
We're done. This was good.
Hey, I'm proud of us.
Hey, I am too. I am too. This was good. All right, y'all. So once again, like, share, comment, subscribe, follow. Make sure to let people know that we're out here. You know what I'm saying? That you're a part
We
of the
out here.
unlearning community, and we out here growing and just continuing to understand uh who we are and what we out here doing and what we're purposed to do and how we work together and what that looks like. So we have some fun stuff coming up
Yeah, man, we
that
about
we're
to do
excited
some
about.
things.
Yeah, so the holidays are coming up, right? And we got a couple of fun episodes that we're gonna do. We're around that. We don't want to give too much away. We're gonna have some special guests, some very important people to us
Very important.
on the podcast, and
We about
so
to let y'all into our worlds a little bit, all right?
yeah, yeah, this is gonna
And
be
yeah,
interesting. It's gonna be
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be really fun, but it's gonna be interesting, and you're gonna want to tune in for it. And yeah, we're gonna be talking about like the holidays are it can be an interesting time for people, and so we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
be talking about a little bit of like what how we can frame the ending of our year in a way that sets us up for the next year, right?
For
Um,
sure.
and so we're excited about that. So y'all keep tuning in to the UnLearnT podcast. Again, let us know what you think. Give us a shout out. We love to hear from you. We appreciate you. All right, let's keep unlearning together, folks, so that we can all experience more freedom.
Bye,
Peace.
y'all.